Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my office, my studio, and my dream library in progress. I'm going to give you the tour, the full tour here, starting where I began. This is my shelf of Joseph Smith, Book of Mormon geography, prophets, Bible, and all things related to Jesus Christ and the gospel. And continuing on, up on the top shelf there's music, a biography of Mozart, of Bach, Verdi, so forth and so on. Up here you've got Bob Dylan and Neil Young and the Beatles, and then some books on film up here. Down here again is Brigham Young, so continuing on with the restoration, Parley P. Pratt, and so forth and so on. John Taylor, Wilford Woodruff, the Saints volumes, and up to more recent prophets. There's Elder Maxwell on this shelf. Lots of Elder Maxwell because he was a very prolific writer. And Elder Holland down here, and Elder Oaks, some other of the apostles, Elder Bednar. Down here we have some science fiction, just a few, and some business books, and some more prophets. Behind here we have Russell M. Nelson and Wendy Nelson, and Hinckley and Monson and Hunter, and then a bunch of LDS scholarship. There's some Hugh Nibley in there. There's some Truman G. Madsen. Some more LDS related books. On the bottom shelf along the line there is poetry. Got a lot of poetry books. And behind this, my painting, there's a list, there are books on the last days and signs of the times and so forth and so on. Here's my C.S. Lewis shelf, here and here. A lot of wonderful C.S. Lewis books. He was also a prolific writer. And here's the Tolkien shelf beneath that, and poetry beneath that. Here's one of my favorite shelves because it has some of my favorite children's books on top, and then Virgil, one of my favorite authors. Very big fan of the Aeneid and so forth. And then of course I love Dante, and here's my Dante shelf with Milton kind of smashed in there as well, and Shakespeare, of course. Shakespeare shelf. And there's a shelf of humor. And then moving on, there's medieval political philosophy shelf with Aquinas, Maimonides, Alfarabi, Averroes, and so forth. And then getting into the ancient, there's Aristotle, and of course Plato and the Greeks, working your way down, and there's some Latin books, and of course Homer down there on the very bottom. Back here there's my sports books. Oh, and there's a box of VersaBall paraphernalia, and some books on food and medicine and the history of medicine and so forth. Behind my golf clubs there's my books on psychiatry and the history of psychiatry and psychology. And working my way around, we get into, there's a little science shelf on top, science and math, and a Tocqueville shelf, Democracy in America and related books. And then there's some of my Tocqueville related books, and modern political philosophy from kind of postmodernism and Heidegger down to others, Montesquieu, Hume, Kierkegaard, working our way down to Locke and Hobbes and Rousseau, and of course, at what some may consider the beginning of modernity, Machiavelli. And my top shelf has some art books on art. Here's the books on the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the founding fathers, the United States of America. A lot of founding fathers books. There's a book that I helped my dad to make, this primary sources booklet, and there's another book on education connected to that. Some founding fathers from Washington and Adams to Madison and Jefferson and Franklin and Hamilton and so forth. I have some French books down on the bottom, and also French books up here on the top. French over to Moliere. And I have a whole shelf of Lincoln. I love to study Abraham Lincoln. And more Lincoln. And getting into more modern times and conservatism and modern philosophy and American politics, so forth. And some reference books. Back again to more modern political philosophy from Rawls onward, and Fukuyama and so forth, and contemporary philosophy, and my guitar. And here's a shelf of biographies, a lot of interesting biographies to read, and a shelf of books from Africa and Asia. Here's my Churchill shelf, some books about or by Churchill, and then some interesting books about Graham Hancock and the message of the Sphinx and the fingerprints of the gods and so forth. Here's my shelves of secret combinations and conspiracies, bringing to light all the hidden things of darkness and the secret combinations and so forth. Below that, there's a shelf of Russian literature, and a shelf below that about war and tyrants. And moving over here is a shelf about the Quran and Islam and Arabic and all things related to the Middle East. More on Islam and the Middle East, and working over from Arabic to Hebrew, and books on Hebrew and books on Judaism and so forth. More books on the Middle East and Hebrew and Judaism and Israel, books on Israel, so forth and so on. Jerusalem, my beautiful Tanakh, the Torah, the Nevi'im, and the Kotavim, my Bible in Hebrew. And then my precious books in Italian below here. My beautiful Italian books in Italian. And then in there's some Spanish books behind there and some Portuguese books there. Up on top I have some storage of electronics and office supplies and my artwork and so forth, and also should show you my DVD collection up here, my beautiful DVD collection of wonderful DVDs, and some other things that I have stored up there. So again, just a quick panorama. Oh, and then these are books that I have that are for sale here and here, books I would like to sell, and my notes from Hillsdale, from the Wheatley Institution, you can see that, and my book, my autobiography is in there. And then my desk, where I will do writing and podcasts and so forth. So again, quick tour. That's my dream library in progress, giving you the panorama once again. Oh, and I missed, here is the shelf of English, British, American literature from Hawthorne and Mark Twain and James Joyce and Dickens and Austen and so forth. And I would like to be friends with all of these great authors. And so here again, this is it, my new studio. Thank you for watching.